الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. So carrying on then from where we left off last week on Al-Aqeedah, Al-Wasitiyyah, we were talking about the issue of enjoining the good and forbidding the evil. And we were talking about some of the conditions that are involved with this action of enjoining the good and forbidding the evil. Some of those issues that Shaykh al-Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala had mentioned. Firstly, أن يكون عالما بحكم الشرع فيما يأمر به أو ينهى عنه. That firstly you have to be knowledgeable of the ruling itself on that particular issue that you are enjoining the good or forbidding the evil on. You need to have knowledge of what the religion says about that issue before you can go and enjoin the good or forbid the evil regarding it. Secondly, أن يعلم بحال المأمور, that you also understand and know the circumstances of the person who you are going to enjoin the good or forbid the evil upon. You need to know his circumstance and what's going on, because sometimes maybe a person may have a reason for missing an obligation or missing a rukn out of a worship. Like when a person cannot stand up, he can sit down and pray. So you've got to know what's going on, what the background is or what the general situation is, before you can go and enjoin the good and forbid the evil. Thirdly, أن يكون عالما بحال المأمور حال تكليفه. Also, one of the things in fact connected here is you've got to know about that particular person and whether he has actually done something wrong for you to enjoin the good and forbid the evil in the first place. Like the example we mentioned, when somebody walks into the mosque and sits down, and then you look over, but you don't know whether he prayed his tahiyatul masjid or not. Maybe he did and you just didn't notice. So you can't start telling him, get up and pray 2 raka'at. Why have you sat down without praying tahiyatul masjid? And maybe he did, you just didn't notice. So you're supposed to become aware of the circumstance before you can enjoin the good and forbid the evil. The fourth condition was أن يكون قادرا على القيام بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر بلا ضرر يلحق. That you be capable of enjoining the good and forbidding the evil without any harm coming to you. If you are going to face harm by enjoining the good and forbidding the evil, then it is not an obligation upon you. Especially some scholars, they said, if you fear you may be killed for enjoining that good or forbidding that evil, then definitely you don't have to do that. And some scholars said if it is lesser than that, it's not an issue of being killed, maybe some other type of harm, then you should still go and enjoin the good and forbid the evil. If it's a lower type of harm other than death. Then after that, we come to the fifth condition. The fifth condition is ألا يترتب على الأمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر مفسدة أعظم من السكوت. This is important. When enjoining the good and forbidding the evil, you have to judge. What will the outcome be? Will the outcome, the consequence, be better than the current situation? Or do you think that if you enjoin the good and forbid the evil on this particular situation, that the outcome will end up worse than what's actually going on right now? Will the outcome actually be worse? Meaning, in that case, is it better for you to just stay quiet and say nothing? Because if you do say something, you enjoin the good and forbid the evil, it is possible that the outcome of that, what then happens after that, what they end up doing next, is even worse than what they are doing right now. Then in that case, you stay quiet. You don't enjoin the good and forbid the evil if an even greater evil is going to happen because of that. And there are some examples the scholars they give. Ibn Taymiyyah or Ibn Qayyim, they mentioned, imagine you see some people sitting at some cafe or some place, and they have got bottles of alcohol and they are drinking alcohol. You see some Muslims sitting at a cafe or something on the street, sitting down, and they've got bottles and cans of alcohol they are drinking. So now you think to yourself, this is a munkar, this is an evil. No doubt it is an evil Muslim sitting around with cans of beer and alcohol and other things. So you think to yourself, I'm going to go and enjoin the good and forbid the evil. And you go up to them and you take all of their alcohol and you tell them, it's haram, brothers, what are you doing? Stop this. Take the alcohol from them, take that beer, get rid of it, throw it away. Maybe you have that authority, maybe they are youngsters and you're old and you do that. But after you do that, so now you have forbidden the evil. You've enjoined the good and you've forbidden the evil. You've stopped them from drinking alcohol. You've taken their bottles and everything, thrown it away, and told them, stop this, it's haram. So they get up and they leave. But now when they get up and leave, they think, what shall we do now? We need to kill some time. What shall we do now? So they decide, let's go rob some cars. Let's go rob some houses. And so they go off, breaking into people's cars, stealing things from their cars, breaking into people's homes. Was it better just to leave them sitting there? Or was it better to stop them and then they go off breaking into people's cars and beating people up and going around the streets terrorizing people? Better in that scenario just to leave them sitting there. The point is, if there is going to be a greater evil that arises because of you enjoining the good and forbidding the first evil, if a greater evil is going to happen, then obviously don't do it. Then don't do it. Leave them. That's the fifth point. So you have to judge that. You have to judge. If I go and enjoin the good and forbid the evil on what I'm seeing here, is there a likelihood that an even bigger evil might end up happening? If there is a likelihood, you think, overwhelmingly, that probably it's gonna end up even worse if I go and say something in this case, then in that case you don't. In that case you don't. You don't enjoin the good and forbid the evil if a bigger evil is gonna happen. You only enjoin the good and forbid the evil if a good is going to come from that and the evil is going to be stopped. What if you see a situation of some haram or something going on and you judge that if I go and enjoin the good and forbid the evil here, it's likely they are going to go end up doing some other evil. But this other evil which you think is likely they are going to go and do is the same as the evil they are doing right now. It's equivalent. So if you go and enjoin the good and forbid the evil, you're going to fix that situation up, but then they are going to go do something equal to it. So in essence, it's balanced out. Are you supposed to go and enjoin the good and forbid the evil in that circumstance or not then? Something else is going to happen just as bad, equal. So then do you do something or just leave it? In that case, it's balanced. So now you just got to judge. What do you think is the more beneficial? Shall I go talk to them? Would it be more beneficial? Maybe they might not go do that other thing. You judge then that circumstance and that situation. So that is the fifth point here. You have to judge the circumstance. Is something more evil going to happen? If something more evil is going to happen, then you leave it. Shaykh al-Uthaymeen, he mentions some scenarios. He says, قال العلماء إن إنكار المنكر ينتج منه إحدى أحوال أربع. That there are four things that can happen when you enjoin the good and forbid the evil. Firstly, إما أن يزول المنكر. That the evil stops. You get rid of that and stop the evil. أو يتحول إلى أخف منه. Or they carry on doing some other evil, but it's lesser than the evil that you stop them from. That's the second circumstance. Thirdly, إلى مثله. They go do an evil equal to it, what we just said. And fourthly, إلى أعظم منه. They go do an evil greater than it. Four circumstances. You stop them from doing some evil, and that's it. You stop them, they stop, finished. In that case, obviously you're going to go and enjoin the good and forbid the evil in that case. You stop them and that's it, they're done, they stopped. Second situation, you stop them, but they still go do another evil, but it's less than the one they were doing right now that you stopped them from. So in that case, obviously you enjoin the good and forbid the evil. They're going to go off and do something else, but it's less than what they were doing, so that's still better for you at least. You've stopped them from doing something bad. They're going to go do something else, but not as bad. So in that case, stop them from this at least. Third situation is what we just said. You're going to stop them, but they're going to go do something equal. Then you judge that. And the fourth situation, you stop them, but they're going to go do something worse. In that case, you don't stop them then. You don't enjoin the good and forbid the evil in that situation. So the first two scenarios, you're going to do it. It's obligatory. Third scenario, you judge that. Because they're going to go do another evil as equal. And the fourth scenario, it is impermissible to enjoin the good and forbid the evil there. Because they are going to go do something even worse. Some examples the Shaykh he gives. He says, imagine you want to enjoin some good upon someone. But that good that you want to enjoin upon them can only be done by that person if he misses the congregation prayer. Something that needs to be done, some goodness. But the only way he can do it is if he misses the congregation prayer because of the timings and whatever the issue is. So then obviously in that scenario you cannot go and tell him and enjoin that good upon him, because the result is even worse. You're making him miss the obligatory prayer. Those are the kinds of things you have to bear in mind. The sixth condition, and this one the scholars they talk about, أن يكون هذا الآمر أو الناهي قائما بما يأمر به منتهيا عما ينهى عنه، وهذا على رأي بعض العلماء، فإن كان غير قائم بذلك فإنه لا يأمر بالمعروف ولا ينهى عن المنكر. Some scholars have the opinion, this is only some scholars, it's not agreed upon, but some scholars have the opinion that you're only allowed to go and enjoin a particular good or forbid a particular evil if you yourself are practicing that. But if you see somebody doing an evil and you do it yourself, then some scholars, they say it's not permissible for you to go and tell him to stop doing that evil and you do it yourself. Or go and tell him to do some good and join some good which you don't do yourself. So some of the scholars, they say that's a condition. You've got to be doing it yourself to be able to enjoin that good or forbid that evil on anybody else. If you're not doing it yourself, you can't go tell others. And that is because they say in the Quran, Allah said, أَتَأْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبِرِّ وَتَنْسَوْنَ أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ تَتْلُونَ الْكِتَابَ فَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Allah said, do you command the people, but you forget about yourselves? Do you command the people, but you forget about yourselves? You are from those who recite the book. Do you not think? So the scholars, they said, for example, if a person doesn't pray himself, then he can't command others, you need to pray 5 times a day. Go, it's prayer time. And he doesn't even pray himself. وَإِنْ كَانَ يَشْرَبَ الْخَمْرَ فَلَا يَنْهَى غَيْرَهُ عَنْهَا. And imagine somebody drinks alcohol. Then he can't tell others, stop drinking alcohol, it's haram. He does it himself. So some scholars, they say, you can only do that particular enjoining the good and forbidding the evil if you yourself are practicing it first. But that is the opinion of a minority of scholars. The majority say that isn't a condition. لكن الجمهور على خلاف ذلك. The majority of the scholars, they are in opposition to that opinion. قالوا يجب أن يأمر بالمعروف وإن كان لا يأتيه وينهى عن المنكر وإن كان يأتيه. They said it is obligatory to enjoin the good and forbid the evil even if you yourself aren't doing it. Even if you aren't doing that good, you still enjoin the good upon others. And even if you are doing that evil, you still stop others. The command of enjoining the good and forbidding the evil is still there to be done, even if you are falling short yourself. That's what the majority of the scholars, they say. And they say this ayah, do you command people but you forget about yourselves? They say, إِنَّمَا وَبَّخَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ لا على أمرهم بالبر ولكن على جمعهم بين الأمر بالبر ونسيان النفس. They say this was about Banu Israel, that because they were commanding and joining that upon others, but they were forgetting and ignoring themselves, that they were being told off for that. But a person, if he is upon weakness, he falls into sins, that doesn't mean he's not allowed to tell people to stop doing that. Maybe hopefully himself he's trying as well. He's trying himself as well. And he knows it's haram and he doesn't want others to fall into the same traps that he's fallen into. So he can still tell people and he's trying himself as well. That is what the majority of the scholars, they say. فهذا القول هو الصحيح فنقول أنت الآن مأمور بأمرين. الأول فعل البر والثاني الأمر بالبر. منهي عن أمرين، الأول فعل المنكر والثاني ترك النهي عن فعله. فلا تجمع بين ترك المأمورين وفعل المنهيين، فإن ترك أحدهما لا يستلزم سقوط الآخر. So now, just because one of the two issues you are falling short on it doesn't mean you abandon the other. Meaning, you are prohibited from drinking alcohol. You are commanded to enjoin the good and forbid the evil. So when you see somebody drinking alcohol, the commandment is for you to enjoin the good and forbid the evil and stop them if you're capable. So now you have these two issues. One, you are forbidden from drinking alcohol yourself. But at the same time, if you see others doing it, the commandment in the religion is there to enjoin the good and forbid the evil. The first one, let's say this person drinks alcohol. So he has failed on the commandment to not drink alcohol. He has failed in implementing that. So that's one minus mark. Does that mean he should also now purposely fail on the other aspect of enjoining the good and forbidding the evil and therefore have 2 minus marks? Or should he at least go do that then? The majority of the scholars, they say at least do that then. And then you keep trying yourself as well. The majority say, we're not going to tell you, you've fallen down on that one, then you have to fall down on the second one as well. You fell down on the issue of drinking alcohol yourself, you must now fall down on the issue of enjoining the good and forbidding the evil too. They say, no, we don't say that. If you've fallen down yourself on the issue of drinking alcohol, it doesn't mean you have to block yourself from enjoining the good and forbidding the evil. Imagine now, for example, there's a father who drinks alcohol. And then his son who's grown up now, he's an adult, his son starts drinking alcohol. Are we going to say, well, the father, you yourself, you fall into that sin, and your son maybe doesn't know, but you know you do that sin, so you can't tell your son to stop? We're not going to say that. The father tells his son, son, stop it, do not drink alcohol, don't drink alcohol. He's got to tell his son still, enjoin the good and forbid the evil. Even if he himself is falling into it secretly. He's fallen down on that, but on the enjoining good and forbidding evil, he can still do that. Maybe he can stop his son at least. So that's what the majority of the scholars, they say. But of course, everybody has to be very careful because it's a dangerous thing. A person not implementing the Sharia upon himself, but telling others to do so, it is a dangerous thing. And a person should recognize sincerity in his heart. You're enjoining the good and forbidding the evil, then you yourself should be the first person you enjoin that good and forbid the evil on yourself, before telling others. So it's important to think about that carefully. Then the next section, Ibn Taymiyyah says, وَيَرَوْنَ إِقَامَةَ الْحَجِّ وَالْجِهَادِ وَالْجَمْعِ وَالْأَعْيَادِ مع الأمراء أبرارا كانوا أو فجارا. The next section, Shaykh al-Islam says, Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, from our principles is the establishment of Hajj and Jihad and the congregational prayers and the Eids under the rulers, under the authority of the rulers, to be united under them, to do Hajj under their authority, to do Jihad under their authority, the Eid prayers under their authority, even if those rulers are wrongdoers. Whether they are righteous or even if they are wrongdoers. Those Muslim rulers are wrongdoers, they are oppressors, but they are your rulers. So you still have to obey in these affairs. So, Shaykh al-Uthaymeen, he says here that Ahlul Sunnah yukhalifuna Ahl al-Bid'i tamaman. That Ahlul Sunnah, we are completely different to Ahlul Bid'ah. Completely different to the people of innovation. فيرون إقامة الحج مع الأمير وإن كان من أفسط عباد الله. Ahlul Sunnah, we consider, we view, our position is, we do Hajj under the authority of the ruler, even if he is the worst of sinners. Even if that Muslim ruler is the worst of the sinners, he is the ruler. And so we do the Hajj under his authority. وكان الناس فيما سبق يجعلون على الحج أميرا كما جعل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أبا بكر أميرا على الحج في العام التاسع من الهجرة. In the olden days, when they used to go do Hajj in these Hajj groups, as we call it these days, there would be a leader for that group, a leader, a Amir of that group. Like the Prophet ﷺ appointed Abu Bakr to be the Amir of the Hajj group in the 9th year of Hijrah. The Messenger went in the 10th year. In the 9th year when he sent them, he put Abu Bakr in charge to be the Amir, the leader of the group. So they used to do that. وَمَا زَالَ النَّاسُ عَلَى ذَلِكَ, not used to, but even now, all these packages, everything, you have the group leader. So there is a leader for Hajj, when they go on that Hajj. لأن المسلمين يحتاجون إلى إمام يقتدون به, because the Muslims, they need an Imam, a leader in that package, in that group that they are going to follow with. So this is what it's talking about. In the olden days too, they would do that with their Imam, with their leader of the country. If the leader of the country said we're all going, they go under his leadership. They go under his, as we call it these days, the package. They're going to go under him. He's going to be the Amir, even if he's the most sinning person. He is the leader. Even if he's a sinner, he is the leader. You go under his authority. Go to Hajj under his authority. فهم يرون إقامة الحج مع الأمراء وإن كانوا فساقا حتى وإن كانوا يشربون الخمر في الحج. Even if those rulers, they drank alcohol during Hajj, even if they did that sin like that, then we do not say هذا إمام فاجر لا تقبل إمامته. We don't say this is a wrongdoer, sinner, he can't be in charge of us, and rebel against him. No. لأنهم يرون أن طاعة ولي الأمر واجبة, because we view that obeying the Wali al-Amr, the leader, is obligatory. وَإِن كَانَ فَاسِقًا, even if he's a wrongdoer. Even if that Muslim ruler is a wrongdoer, he's a Muslim ruler though, then we obey. بشرط, but with that condition, he is still Muslim. بشرط أن لا يخرجه فسقه إلى الكفر البواح الذي عندنا فيه من الله برهان فهذا لا طاعة له. As long as the sins he's doing don't make him a kafir. If he's clearly upon kufr, he's a kafir, that's another thing. Then he's not to be obeyed in those circumstances. But if he's a Muslim, committing whatever sins he might be committing, but he's a Muslim, then you must obey. But if he's a clear kafir, then يجب أن يزال عن تولي أمور المسلمين. لكن الفجور الذي دون الفسق مهما بلغ فإن الولاية لا تزول به بل هي ثابتة والطاعة لولي الأمر واجبة في غير المعصية. So as long as he doesn't get to that level of being outright kafir, if he's still a Muslim, no matter what sins he's doing, then in that case it is obligatory to still hear and obey the Muslim rulers. And this is in opposition to the Khawarij. The Khawarij يرون أنه لا طاعة للإمام والأمير إذا كان عاصيا. They believe there is no need for any obligation of following and obeying the ruler if he is a sinner. They say you don't have to follow the ruler if he's a sinner. لأن من قاعدتهم أن الكبيرة تخرج من الملة. Because according to them, major sins take you out of the fold of Islam. And also this is in opposition to the Rafida. The Rafida, Shia, الذين يقولون إنه لا إمام إلا المعصوم وإن الأمة الإسلامية منذ غاب من يزعمون أنه الإمام المنتظر ليست على إمام ولا تبعا لإمام. The Rafida, they believe there is no Imam until the awaited Imam comes back. And they don't believe any authority for the Imams until those ones that they are waiting for come back. لكن أهل السنة والجماعة يقولون نحن نرى إقامة الحج مع الأمراء سواء كانوا أبرارا أو فجارا. But أهل السنة, we hear and we obey the Muslim rulers, even if they are sinners. And we do Hajj under them and their authority. وكذلك إقامة الجهاد مع الأمير. And also jihad under the authority of the ruler. Jihad, you must have the Amir. Do it under the authority of the Amir. And so that Amir, even if he's a sinner, he is the leader of that country, you do it under his authority. ويقيمون الجهاد مع أمير لا يصلي معهم الجماعة بل يصلي في رحله. Maybe even the Amir, he doesn't pray the congregational prayer with them. Still, as long as he is upon Islam, he's a Muslim, then he is obeyed. فأهل السنة والجماعة لديهم بعد نظر بعد النظر لأن المخالفات في هذه الأمور معصية لله ورسوله وتجر إلى فتن عظيمة. So Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we look beyond the current circumstance. We know that if you rebel against the rulers and you revolt against the rulers, then it brings about a lot of corruption and evil. And you've seen it. You've seen it in so many of the Muslim countries in the last 15 years now. How much corruption and wars have happened when they rebelled against their rulers and they revolted against them, trying to topple them. And the armies, they fought back, and civil war. And how much has happened in so many of the countries in the Middle East, in those areas in the last 10 years, 15 years, what they call the Arab Spring and all these things. It causes great corruption, great bloodshed, great amount of evil on the land. فما الذي فتح باب الفتن والقتال بين المسلمين والاختلاف الآراء إلا الخروج على الأئمة. So what else opens up all these doors to trials and tribulations and all this fighting between the Muslims, these civil wars and this conflict in opinions that they have, other than the fact that they rebel and revolt against their rulers. They rebel and revolt against the rulers, and so that corruption arises and that fighting and bloodshed and destruction of the lands, they come about. Destruction of the lands occur, and there is no safety and there is no more security. And that happens when they rebel against their rulers and they have no ability in reality to rebel. They have no ability, they have no power. A few militias, a few guns, a few this, a few that, and they want to rise up and try and take the government buildings and do everything. And then the government fights back and all the civil war begins and innocent people are killed and the whole land is destroyed. That is what Ahlul Sunnah we say, don't do. You do not revolt and rebel like that and cause corruption upon the earth, destruction, innocent people killed. That is not the way of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. لا نعم فيرى أهل السنة والجماعة وجوب إقامة الحج والجهاد مع الأمراء وإن كانوا فجارا. So أهل السنة, it is our stance that we consider it to be correct and valid and an obligation to perform the Hajj and the Jihad under the rulers, even if they are wrongdoers, even if they are sinners. Regrettably, we don't really have time today. It was only possible to do a short class today. We'll have